Now, I've taken my time to gauge my words on the Arsenal loss to Bournemouth because obviously after it I was very annoyed. Now, in this video there is going to be some retrospect, so there is going to be some really hard truths, but there's also going to be some realism around the situation and what Arsenal can do to improve. So overall, let's get into it. Now, unlike in other games where Arsenal have dropped points this season with the draws that they have, I am not going to give us that much praise in this game. I do think there is situations we need to talk about, such as the red card and things that happened after it that definitely impacted the game, but I don't think we can look at these small things or blame anyone else for our loss other than ourselves. I think ultimately this was an Arteta and Arsenal problem and we need to solve it if we're going to win this league this year. Now, looking at the stats seem almost pointless. In the first half of the game, nothing was really being created from either side, and I actually felt we were defending well up until the red card. Now, the red card definitely changes the game. Overall, the situation itself of the red card I can't really argue with. I understand that it is really far away from the goal and Saliba can get back and probably will get back as well, but I also don't think he should be tugging someone's shirt. He shouldn't give that opportunity to the referee in that situation. I also think Trossard is probably at a bigger fault here because he also does make a clear mistake and he's not under that much pressure. When Saliba makes his mistake, he is under considerable pressure to basically get back and defend that, and he makes it in a bit of a rash nature, which is poor overall. And now we're missing our best defender for the Liverpool game, which Trossard was also at fault for. Now, overall, I thought our tactics systematically before this red card were decent. We had Marino and Havertz leading the press, with Arsenal ready to jump centrally to make the press man-to-man where possible. And we built up in a 4-2-4 and a 3-4-4 as Raya moved into the middle. And I do think it kind of worked with Calafiori inverting a lot and White tucking in. Now, with that being said, there was one thing that was a clear problem with this team going into the game, and I think it was even clearer in the game, was that where was the creativity going to come from? Looking at the lineup, the only real outlet you can see for Arsenal is if maybe Havertz gets a cross and it gets into him, or we get a lucky bounce and Trossard in the box, because as we know, Trossard overall isn't effective from outside the box. He has been better recently, but in games like this when they can 2-1 up him, it was just not good enough. I also think Sterling was a major outlet in this game, using his pace in behind, and when we got a red card to Saliba, bringing Sterling off I think is the most negative move that we could have done. Now, I understand why Arteta did it, because he probably wanted to play the Havertz and Trossard as false nines so they can help the midfield, so we can build up in that way, and then we bring Martinelli on later, which we did, and obviously he missed his chance. But overall, I still think that is a very negative system when we have too many players on the pitch. Now, first of all, I'm going to talk about some of the false things that people are talking about. Arsenal did not play 3 defensive midfielders in this game. Marino is not a defensive midfielder. He is a central midfielder and loves playing up high wide. But like I said in my video where I did the other day about him, he wants to be the secondary creator, someone that can play high and wide and in the 5 going forward when you have the ball, but it has to be around players who are technically better and better in the box than him. He needs to work off players and he cannot be the primarily creator. Now, we knew we were going to have these problems. Odegaard's injury, of course, that's our main creator, and then Saka obviously being injured, he's been stepping up in that creative aspect, really did limit the side. And the red card obviously doesn't help, and I think it is the worst situation for us to get a red card given the team we had out, but we were never going to create many chances and we arguably created one, which in my opinion you can't really blame Martinelli for, because it's just one chance. We should be creating more overall. Now, overall, we have to look at Arteta here with some of the decisions he made. Now, like I said, the red card isn't his fault and I will not be blaming him for that specific reason, but I also will pick out some of the things that he has been saying, such as blaming Martinelli in the press for that one chance, which I think is very unfair, and talking about how we did well with 10 men. Well, that may be the case given the team out, but we've still got to have belief we can go and score goals when we've got 10 men. It just seems like Arteta has this perspective that when you go down to 10, that is it, shut up shop and hope for a draw, which shouldn't be the way that we should look going into these games where we're clearly a team that have more quality than them. I also think we do have to look at the number 10 situation. Now, like I've said many times before, Ethan Nwaneri, in my opinion, is more of an advanced 8 player, but he can do a lot of the creative work in there. Now, yes, again, he hasn't had that many minutes and he hasn't played too much, especially starting. But given going into a game that we know we're not going to have much creativity, playing Marino, Rice and Partey as a midfield 3, where did he expect the midfield to actually create? Now, you can get Havertz to come back and help progression, but if there's no one going forward other than Sterling and maybe Trossard is going to poach in the box, it's not really going to help us from deep. And I've seen people say that, well, oh, Nwaneri's young, we can't expect him to start, which is valid, I think, but given the situation we had in the summer, he has to trust him more. He got rid of both our number 10s that we had, pure number 10s being Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira, and I get that Nwaneri was not supposed to start this much, it was supposed to be Odegaard, but given Odegaard's been out for a while now, and it is quite clear that without Saka going into this game, that we didn't have that creative number against a very good team, especially at home. I just think it's a major mishap by Arteta, which he doesn't make, and I love Arteta to pieces, but he has to take the responsibility for this game. There is also other options. I know we don't like Jesus, I know we're all annoyed at him, but him in midfield may be a better player. He could actually create stuff, he can go past players, at least offer something different, or even playing Trossard in that midfield role and playing Havertz up front still while you put Jesus on the left and then bring him off for half-time for Martinelli. These things could have worked given the players that we have. In this game, Arsenal ended up relying on guys who can contribute opposed to guys that will contribute in entirety of a game. And although, yes, the red card was a bad situation, and I think looking at it in hindsight, not only will we learn from this, but I do think that the red card was a freak event sort of game. We've now got 3 red cards in 8 games this season, and every time we get a red card, we drop points. Now, I know we all have our qualms about each red card and the decisions that go on in games, but there is definitely some ill discipline there. I think this may be the issue of bringing all these physical lads in. Sometimes you are going to get a lot of red cards, but I do think Arteta needs to calm it down a lot, and I think he really needs to start sorting out this team. Now, despite I think all of this is what we got clearly wrong against Bournemouth, fair play to Bournemouth, they played well, they were still in the game, and they scored 2 late goals, deservedly won the game. It was a game where I didn't even feel much sympathy for us because we didn't deserve to get a result, which I think is the most damning thing about it all. Overall though, I do think this can be seen as a freak result. Now, the major thing is the Liverpool game on the weekend. No Saliba for that. It looks like Timber might be back though, so he can play in centre back, but we've got to be careful. Calafiori on Salah, Saka hopefully is going to be back, maybe Odegaard even on the bench if we're lucky. And if these players are back, I predict that we will be back to our best with Arteta learning he can't be doing these stupid things again. However, this is a big lesson to learn early on the season, and I think we deserved it and we needed that in a sense, because I don't think we've been at the best we can be. I think from a tactical perspective we've been pretty good, I think overall, but some of our lineups have been quite underwhelming. I think some of our players have been quite underwhelming in many aspects, and I think we needed that to lock in and realise what we've got here. Overall, I personally think that this hopefully will be an isolated loss that you sometimes get throughout a season. I still think we are there, and I still think this doesn't mean much going into the future. We've got to win our games that are coming up that are really hard, and that is where it really matters for the team. Now, overall, I believe in Arsenal enough to think this can be an isolated event, but we have to see in the future. Arteta's job is to find solutions for the problems within the team, and of course the injuries aren't great, but every team has injuries and there's still not this bad of a drop off after it. Now, Arsenal have Shakhtar on Wednesday, which will be a brilliant opportunity to play Nwaneri, play these players that maybe don't get much minutes, where we should be able to win. Then we can push into the Liverpool game on the weekend. I still believe we can beat Liverpool. Watching their game against Chelsea, I don't think they're amazing. We're going to have to win individual battles, and more importantly, we need Bukayo Saka within the team, because I think without him, that midfield especially just seems to fall apart on itself. Overall, let me know what you think about the game. I get we're all probably very annoyed about it. I am too. You could probably tell by the anger in my voice in this video, but I do think that if we were to lose to Liverpool or not win that game, I think it is really a time to panic to see where we are going as a squad. But right now, I'm not happy, but it is what it is, and we're going to have to live with it at least for this week. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.